Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther coming to you from the northern wastes of Alberta to talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, The War Without, The War Within. We managed to dig ourselves out of the incredible amount of snow that's fallen here in the last little while to get ourselves over to a friend's place to watch the latest episode, so here are my thoughts fresh from viewing it. So we start out with Captain Saru coming into the transporter room and encountering the mirror Giorgio for the first time. This is an awkward meeting that could have gone a lot better, but the takeaway from this scene is that the mirror Giorgio's presence in the Prime Universe is being kept a strict secret within Starfleet. After not seeing him at all in last week's episode, we get an update on Tyler. It seems that the Voq personality has indeed been expunged. Tyler does have access to all of Voq's memories, however, and Saru sees this as an opportunity to use him for intelligence purposes. After not hearing from Starfleet for some time, a Federation starship finally does approach the Discovery, and she is boarded by Starfleet troops and Admiral Cornwell and Ambassador Sarek. We're saved a lot of exposition time here, with Sarek mind-melding with Saru and getting up to date on exactly what has happened to Discovery in the last few episodes. I really love how personally Admiral Cornwell takes Lorca's betrayal, and the fact that the Prime Universe Lorca, the man that she knew and grew up with, is seemingly lost. I don't know, I'm not 100% convinced, it's still ambiguous. The Prime Lorca may still be out there, and I really hope that's something we get followed up on in Season 2. I'd really hate to think that the show has lost Jason Isaacs for good. He is a wonderful presence on the show, and like I say, I really hope that he shows up again in Season 2. We find out that the ISS Discovery was seemingly destroyed by Klingons. Cornwell mentions that they found debris from Discovery, and it seems that we won't get to enjoy seeing Captain Killy again. This is unfortunate, but obviously the show has other things that it needs to focus on and didn't want this hanging plot thread to deal with here, so it seems that the ISS Discovery is, sadly, no more. I also have to say I love that we get a briefing room scene here, and this is kind of another after effect of the loss of the influence of Lorca. Lorca used his crew as tools. He didn't really seek their input, didn't really seek their guidance on anything, which is why we never really got a proper introduction to a lot of the bridge crew throughout most of the first season. Now that Lorca is gone, this is a true Starfleet crew, and Saru, of course, uses those talents as he sees fit. And although this is a briefing with some Starfleet brass, it's not exactly a crew briefing scene, I assume we're going to see more input by the regular bridge officers and the rest of the senior crew aboard Discovery. Discovery, of course, has lost its ability to use the spore drive because they don't have any supply of spores left. They use them all to return to the Prime Universe from the Mirror Universe. So they warp to Starbase 1. We get a very tense scene between Stamets and Tyler. Tyler, of course, when the Voq personality took over, killed Stamets' partner, Dr. Culber. So understandably, there's a lot of animosity between these two. And I think this scene was played perfectly, where obviously Stamets is very hurt by what has happened and has a bit of a desire to hurt Tyler back. But at the same time, he knows that Tyler feels regret and is not ultimately responsible for those actions, but at the same time isn't really in a place to forgive him yet. And I think this is a very difficult scene between the two of them, and I really like how it plays out here. After this, we get a lovely scene in the mess hall where Tyler's sitting by himself, and Tilly takes it upon herself to go and sit with him, once again proving why I think she's probably my favorite character in Discovery. Although my favorite character alternates between her and Commander Saru, depending on which scene I've just seen. But this is a really lovely scene, and I love that it shows the beginning of the healing of Tyler and the coming together of this crew. Discovery arrives at Starbase 1, and unfortunately the starbase has been destroyed. 80,000 people aboard have all lost their lives, and the scene of the attack is basically graffitied by the emblem of House de Gore, which is a lovely piece of continuity. House de Gore, you might remember, is the house from the Deep Space Nine episode, The House of Quark. That's the house that's rivaling Grilka's house and using dirty financial means to gain advantage over them. We also get a great scene between Laurel and Cornwell. They're reunited since the last time they saw each other aboard the Klingon sarcophagus ship way back in Civis Pacem Parabellum. I love the outlining of the Klingon philosophy here, that the war will never end, that once the Klingons have tasted the Federation's blood, they will settle for nothing but complete and total victory, and that the Federation's usual modus operandi really won't work here. And this, of course, sets in motion a plan to win the war once and for all against the Klingons. So they seek the Mirror Giorgio's input because, the Terran Empire had crushed the Klingon Empire, and they want to figure out how they did that and what sort of strategies they can apply to the war here in the Prime Universe. Not the best source of inspiration, but desperate times call for desperate measures, of course. Giorgio gives them the idea for a plan that will allow them to destroy the military apparatus on Chronos and thereby win the war, but it's clear that she has greater ambitions as well, that she doesn't think that this was a good long-term solution, but in fact is merely a stopgap. And it's clear in a discussion that she has with Sarek that greater means are required, and she clearly has some plans here. We get another great scene regarding Ash Tyler, and this is between Tilly and Michael Burnham in engineering. This is another really great scene that just proves why Tilly is an amazing character. I really love her outlook here. And there's also a really great little discussion about Starfleet. And, Tilly asks Michael, when you joined Starfleet, did you think you were getting into, war and death and that sort of thing? And Tilly admits that she might be in a little over her head, that this is really not what she was expecting when she joined Starfleet. So the plan is for Discovery to spore jump into an underground cavern on Chronos to map the planet and discover where the military vulnerabilities exist. And the way they're going to do this is by replenishing their spore supply by rapidly terraforming a moon with some seedlings, basically, that Stamets has. And it's a really cool sequence, I have to say, where they rapidly grow these spores to replenish their supply. It's a gorgeous scene, I have to say. Not totally clear on the science behind it, but I'm willing to suspend disbelief. It's a way to replenish their supply quickly, and it's clear that we want to move on to the next big thing. So we get another scene here, and finally Burnham and Tyler face each other after Tyler, as Vogue, attempted to kill her in the Mirror Universe. And it's kind of one of those scenes that you want to play out a certain way, and you think it's all going to resolve itself in a certain way, but it's clear there's a lot of hurt there. And Sonequa Martin-Green plays it brilliantly when she's been so victimized and is traumatized by what happened with Tyler that she can't see past it. And as much as you really want her to, and you want them to reconcile, and you want that healing to happen, you totally understand where she's coming from, and you see the vulnerability that she has when she looks at Tyler and says, you may have been Vogue, but I felt your hands around my neck, and I looked and saw your face and your eyes. It's so heart-wrenching, and it's played brilliantly by both of these actors. It's an incredible scene, and I'm sure there will be further development on this front in the next episode, but for now, I really love where they leave this scene. It rings very true, and not everything is tied up in a nice, neat little bow. There's still a lot of hurt here, and it's obvious that there's still a lot of growth to happen here on this front. So with Discovery's spore supply replenished, they prepare to jump to Chronos, and in a really great piece of continuity, Admiral Cornwell says they'll be the first Starfleet crew to visit Chronos since Jonathan Archer and the crew of the NX-01 over 100 years ago, which was beautiful, because I thought at some points in the episode when they mentioned that no one had been to Chronos, or, at least in a very long time, I was worried they were kind of missing that or not mentioning that the NX-01 had been to Chronos, but they do bring it up here. It's explicitly mentioned, and I love little continuity touchstones like that. But before they jump, Cornwell puts a new commander in charge of the Discovery, and I have to say I didn't see this one coming, and I kind of really have to question the wisdom of this choice. But they explain to the crew that Captain Giorgio was recently rescued and actually did survive the battle at the binary stars. Obviously, this is the mirror Giorgio masquerading as the prime Giorgio, but the crew doesn't know this because they don't know that she's been rescued from the mirror universe. But I don't know why you put her in command of Discovery. I mean, she does have certain skills that are obviously going to come into play, but it seems like a really big risk. And the looks on Burnham's face and Saru's face really are telling when they look at Giorgio and realize, of course, who it is. And this, I don't know how this bodes for the rest of the mission. I have to say, I'm just so eager to see next week's episode, but at the same time, I don't want it to be over. So I'm really torn here. I've been loving Discovery, and I can't believe there's only one episode left. So I'm really curious how they're going to wrap everything up. I'm loving the character work. I'm loving where things are going. Obviously, I think next week's episode is going to be a huge epic event that just really closes off Discovery with a bang. And I really hope that there isn't a cliffhanger at the end of season 1. I feel like there probably will be, at least a minor one of some kind. But man, I really wish there wouldn't be. But I think those hopes are going to be dashed, unfortunately. So, predictions for next week's episode. First of all, I think the kind of obvious one, and I don't know, maybe this isn't obvious, maybe this isn't where they're going, but I really think this just kind of makes sense. We're going to see a mirroring of what we saw in the first 2 episodes, with Burnham once again having to go up against Giorgio. Obviously, Giorgio is a mirror universe character. She has her own agenda. She has some hidden intentions here. And I think Burnham is going to have to face off against her. And of course, be holding up Starfleet's principles and ideals while doing so. I'm curious what kind of leash Starfleet and Cornwell thinks that they have on Giorgio, and how she's going to very obviously try and thwart those plans. Second prediction, we know that Lieutenant Tyler, former Lieutenant Tyler, I should say, has access to all of Voke's memories, so I think that he is going to be instrumental in the upcoming mission on Chronos because of his knowledge of Klingon culture and beliefs, and I think he will prove his usefulness in that way. Now, it is mentioned that he will never be in Starfleet again. I don't know if maybe he's able to redeem himself somehow and really prove his worth, if that decision might be reversed. And finally, like I mentioned earlier, I think there will be a cliffhanger of some kind. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I'm sure there'll be something that will entice us to wait until next year to watch season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. Anyway, what did you think of The War Without, The War Within? What do you think is going to happen in next week's episode? And how do you feel about the Mirror Giorgio being in command of Discovery? I mean, they just got rid of one mirror imposter as the captain. Why are you bringing in another one? Oh, man, I'm on pins and needles waiting for next week's episode. So let me know in the comments your thoughts. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links, of course, as always, are all in the description below. You can help support this channel on Patreon. Even just $1 a month would really help me out. I'm planning to do some interesting things this year with some different types of videos. Hopefully I can elaborate on that once Discovery's over and we can get into, the opportunity to do different types of videos. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, live long and prosper.